Welcome guys, so these are just a few rapid fire tips that I think are super helpful that I've learnt since playing the Overworld. Let's get stuck in. Okay, so tip number one is going to be pathing, where you're going to find the most shards and Illuvials. So I've had the most success going north, so from where you start here you pretty much just go straight north or a little bit northeast, and you'll see the path that there's this crevice through here, and you'll come out the top here and then you go straight west. Now a few tips to do that would be follow the north marker, obviously, or on this map, but you can also place a marker like that, and then once you get to here you can place another one there and you'll be able to follow that on the top of your screen there. So you can see that there's a small marker on the top of my screen. The other route that I like is straight west. So you go straight west out here, and this will bring you straight out into this area here, which we're looking at. It's kind of like a graveyard. I think there's a dead Leviathan there, and you can see an Illuvial there, and I'm sitting on top of two ores here. They're probably the most scenic as well. You can also go south, so straight north, straight west, and if you want to explore you can go south through here as well. It's kind of southeast as well. Still great, still recommend exploring it, but it doesn't bring you out to a couple of these more heavily resourced areas. So straight north, straight west, and use the markers, and you can also toggle H while you're on the map, and it'll give you these heat signatures. So if you're trying to decide which way to go, maybe toggle that, and you can see here west might have been the better way to go than straight north. So that leads me to my next tip for farming shards, which is going to end up being your most important thing that you come across in the game, is your lack of shards, or your need for shards to capture Illuvials. They're going to be dropped from mostly shard deposits, but you can see here this is an anonymous ore deposit. Anything that looks like a rock formation like this, you can have recurring ore deposits. They'll all have a chance to drop shards, but shard deposits will be obviously have the most likelihood of dropping shards. So I would farm these up and maybe skip the plant harvesting. You'll come across different plants that you can harvest. So those harvested plants will mostly end up giving you these consumables, which you can see here. They're just, it won't show you the tooltip here, but when you see them in your locker you'll be able to see that they mostly just give you small in-combat buffs to either your Illuvials or your Ranger, which can probably help in the higher tiers but aren't very relevant early on. So you can ignore the plants, the harvesting of the plants, and mostly focus on these ores to farm shards. Another thing to note is in regards to what shards you can use to capture which Illuvials. So you can see here the shards, so this secured shard can only capture tier 0 and nothing more powerful. This one can capture tier 1 or lesser and a slight chance to hold a more powerful, then tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and so on. The way you kind of know what Illuvial you're able to catch with that, I mean this may be obvious for some, but it took me a bit of working out. The Illuvial will have an extra digit at the top here of the animation. So for example, the Axodon is tier 1, whereas these are all tier 0, and then you've got the Lura here, which is tier 3, and again tier 1, all the way up to tier 5, 4 and 5. So the shards, you'll still have a chance to obviously capture a higher tier with a shard that describes it having success with a lower tier, but the other way you can increase your chances of using a lower tier shard is by upgrading your drone here. So you can see there I've upgraded my drone to have 25% extra capture power. So that's obviously going to help you use a lower tier shard. Alright, this next tip may seem obvious, but it's quite important. Make sure when you craft your shards, so you'll craft them here, then you'll go over to your locker, and you want to go over to craftable, and then here is where your shards will be available, and you want to right click them, and that right clicking them will withdraw them to your inventory. Then they'll come up here. If you don't do that, after you craft them, they'll sit in your locker. You might end up crafting them and then going and exploring the overworld, trying to catch Illuvials, and you'll find your shards are left in your locker. So, it may seem obvious, simple, but it's a mistake you don't want to end up making. Alright, one last tip regarding shards. So I'd recommend farming a lot in stage 1. In stage 1, you can pretty much get any rarity of shard. I found I've gotten all the way up to rare shard, and this isn't the same for stage 0. You'll only find, well, I found that I've only found stage 0 shards, so tier 0 shards. But in stage 1, you can farm shards that'll help you in stage 2 and even stage 3. So in summary for the shards, make sure you get them out of your locker before you start traveling. Farm all the ores, they can drop off any ores, but prioritize the shard deposits and follow the paths that I've discussed previously. As well as focus, keep in mind that you can gather them from stage 1 for higher stages. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that and you found that helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll be coming out with more Illuvium and Web3 content. And that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Bye.